I think there is something to be said too for the people that you find that are looking for those really cheap sites. I think their expectation level is different, and those people will say no, but ultimately those aren't the clients that you need. Now I can charge $100 an hour, and I'm no longer working with people that are just like have an idea and have done none of their own work on their business yet. They actually have content ready, whereas the $200 people didn't have any content. They also want you to design their business plan and write their content. So much of what we see on the web is about trying to make it, to be like the top 1%. Mm-hmm. And that's not actually my goal. I want to be able to make like a magical Christmas for my kids. I'm so glad that I took that time when I knew it was the end with my mom and was able to really spend it with her and not be sucked into work so much that I couldn't do that. Being able to create a life that I feel like I'll look back on and feel like there was the right balance for me. Yes. And everybody's balance is different, but this is what I need.
Okay. Good. Paige, do share with me. What were you doing before you became a website designer, and how did this idea come to your mind?
Okay, I have done a lot of different things before being a web designer. I'm definitely a career hopper and jumper. Right before this, I was like a high-profile nanny, which I loved, and the pay was amazing. So it was actually not a jump about money. It was a jump about lifestyle.
Mm-hmm.
I was tired of sort of like traveling on holidays, being gone and away from my family. My husband and I had just bought a house, and I was actually commuting between New York and Vermont during that time. And I was like, I need to find a remote job.
Yeah. Okay, yeah, that's a waste. Yeah, I mean, it sounds like the dream to, be like traveling around with like families and stuff. But yeah, like organizing your own life on top of that can be a little challenging.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, and so, doing nannying first, love that. And then how did you get to the idea of website design in the first place? So, like, out of all the things you could have done after that.
I actually went back to grad school and I got a master's degree in software development. And at the time, I wasn't totally sure what I wanted to do. And I thought maybe I would become a full stack developer. And it kind of just came out of like timing. I graduated right at spring of 2020 and everybody was on a hiring freeze. Nobody was hiring. And I was like, I guess I have to try and find some freelance clients. So I got on Upwork and then just kind of like naturally gravitated towards the things that I felt best at. I didn't think that it was a reality to just like come out the gate and be working for myself as a designer.
That's interesting. Right. Yeah. But I guess when you have no other option, then
yeah.
Okay. And then talk to me about, so I remember you literally studied this. So like, you have the background.
But it's funny because we almost didn't touch on like web design wasn't even a part of it. It was like learning Java.
That's really interesting. Okay, yeah. So what you ended up deciding to do is how much are you doing like custom code on your clients' projects now versus how much are you just using like a website builder?
It's funny. I thought I would code a lot more than I do. It's not as necessary as you would think. I definitely do have clients that I do custom coding projects for and like, work on top of Squarespace, like database management and, do some code integrations. And definitely I would say that it's a perk that I know how to really work the CSS in my favor and you utilize plugins and customize them. But it is such a small part of my job.
Yeah.
So much of it is truly just like Squarespace and working with the client.
That is fantastic. Okay, and how many years did you go to school for the software?
That was 2 years. Yeah.
2 years. Okay. Oh, that's fascinating. Okay, cool. All right. Okay, and then now the question, which I really need the answer to: you literally had a degree in this. Why did you end up taking my course?
Because I think that working for myself was so scary at that time. I had actually I'd worked for myself before in the startup space. And I was just like, this time I really needed to make it work. Like I needed money coming in the door. And I remember seeing something you wrote about like, you can learn all of this, but the amount of time that it's going to take you to fumble through versus having somebody who's done it, be able to basically hold your hand and kind of get you there. That was huge. Honestly, I'm not like joking when I say your course taught me more than that whole master's degree.
That's great. I'm thrilled to hear
just
it.
like a huge fan. I think because the part about being a freelancer that's hard is like knowing how to like deal with like clients, like contracts and all that part. Like the concept of figuring out how to bill a client for me was like so scary for such a long time.
I hear you. Okay, I love that. All right, so walk me through. So it's been a few years now since you've like started the business, gotten it
Yeah.
going. You have really, again, as you mentioned, like you specifically built the business to work around your lifestyle. So what were the things that you were thinking about when you were building the business as to like what how did you want to like work things or frame things? Is there any certain like process or anything that you were like, okay, I want to make sure I build it this way so that I have like what was that lifestyle that you were trying to like create and were you able to do it? And kind of
Yeah,
what did you do in the
absolutely.
business to make it possible?
So the running theme of all the jobs I had before was that they were all really high stress. They were
Mhm.
like really on environments. And when I thought about doing this, I really wanted a job that felt really good and really cozy.
Mm.
Like, I
Yeah.
was like, if I'm going to work from home, it's not just like comfy pants, but like I want the whole experience to feel really good for them and for me.
Mm, mhm,
Because I think that so much of the speed of things is very like more, faster,
mhm.
faster,
Yeah.
bigger, bigger. And like most of the time with my clients, we're not curing cancer. We're like figuring out how to sell a hot sauce.
Yep, totally.
Like, and so I really try even today to have that be like the core of my business of like,
Mhm,
how do I make it feel good for them and feel good for me? How do we make this really efficient, but feel unstressful?
mhm,
So that comes down to just like even how I talk to my clients. I try to be really personal and really hear about like what are they actually trying to accomplish and what has been making them drag their feet on
mm,
getting this website done and what's the
mhm.
part that makes them just like shut off and not be able to
Yep.
like complete this project. And so definitely systems in place over the years. Like I love Asana. I
Mhm.
I couldn't make it a day in my life without
Right.
Asana anymore. I use HoneyBook, which is amazing. I have a really good flow thanks to you and a lot of other hours on YouTube figuring out like my process of like what it's like to onboard and offboard a client.
Mhm,
Especially because for me, like 70% of my business is referrals from my other
mm,
clients.
mhm.
So I have less, but I really try and focus on everybody leaving being like, yes, I'm going to
Really
come back
happy.
here.
Mhm. That absolutely
Um,
makes sense. Mm.
so yeah, I hope I answered that.
Okay. Yeah, definitely. I love that. Okay, and then let's go okay, actually, no, sorry. We'll come back to this lifestyle aspect because I wanna come back to this in a moment, but, coming back to the very beginning of the business. Okay, so you graduate the degree, you end up taking my course, you then are like, "Okay, now I run a business," and what did you do to get, like, the first 1, 2, 3 clients in the business?
Yeah. Okay, I did 2 things. Number 1, my husband hired me on Upwork.
That's so smart. So because you want to get a project and
And
so
I did build him a website, but I had him pay me on there and, like,
smart.
leave me a review.
Yeah, good.
Um, and then after that, I literally built, I think, 3 websites after that for I'm not joking, like, one of them, I think I charged $200.
Okay.
It was so I was like, "I will do this for basically free. I will
Mhm,
go above and beyond just whatever. I
mhm,
just need to have something added to my portfolio."
mhm,
So I did that for a while. I worked either free or very, very cheap. I
mhm,
even, in our area, there was a new bar that was opening up, and
mhm.
I built them a website first before they had it. And I was like, "Hey, I built this. Do you want it?"
Yeah, that's so good. I love that. Okay, good. So through Upwork, your husband hiring you, perfect.
Yeah.
Through you, then another person through Upwork, and then like just starting to build things for like local businesses. Mhm.
Yeah, exactly. And so I really did start on Upwork. That's how I kind of initially got my client base. And then that slowly turned into finding more recurring clients and more
Yeah.
people off of Upwork and word of mouth. So now I still am on there, but it's a much smaller part of my business.
Gotcha. That makes sense. Yeah, totally. Yeah, and as you said, like, of course, like on Upwork, there's like a fee and everything, and so obviously, yeah, when you can get the referral clients in future, where those clients just refer you to new ones. And so, is it
Yeah.
typically like their business friends that they're referring you to, or where? Who are these referrals? If that makes sense.
Absolutely. They're usually business partners or friends. I have one client who has hired me for 5 different websites. So a
Awesome.
lot of people are also like serial entrepreneurs and I've
Mhm.
been with them for a long time. So as they grow in their companies and
Perfect.
they, branch out. And same thing, a lot of nonprofits are in my portfolio. And then that always kind of goes into like, oh, we got a new grant. We're working on this now.
That's really good. Perfect. I love that. Okay. And then, so yeah, now these days, so correct me if I'm wrong. So the two marketing strategies are basically your thing is like referrals from past clients and then Upwork. Is there any other aspect to it, or those are basically the two main
That's it.
methods? Yeah. Love that. That's so good. And then talk to me about the kinds of projects. Like, what exactly is included in a typical project? And again, talk to me about like what is the extent of coding or development, what you're typically doing on these websites.
Yeah, absolutely. So it's a little bit all over the map. Like, I think that I don't have a strong niche like a lot of your past
Mm,
students do, where I just do one type of project.
mm,
So I really am a little bit all over the map. Like, I
mm,
think that I I have 3 or 4 ongoing contracted bigger companies that I work for,
mhm.
and those involve a lot more custom coding where I'm
Gotcha.
actually managing like whole big projects for
Yep.
them.
Mhm.
Like I work for a big nationwide hardware store,
Okay, yeah.
and
Mhm.
and I do a bunch of data management for them. That's a bunch of code.
Mm, okay.
But my regular referrals of like my small business client base, it's really just Squarespace sites, coding when I can't find a plugin that
Mhm.
works on top of it, and any customizing of code to make things really pop or make a user experience better.
Yep.
But it's not that complicated.
Yeah.
I think that where I find and then I do a lot of other I do SEO, and I'll
Mhm.
do associated graphics like pitch
Yep.
decks or
Mhm.
logo design, or, things that all kind of are in the hub
Mhm.
of the website. But I pretty much only do that if I've been hired on for the website. I
Gotcha.
don't go marketing as a logo
Yes.
designer.
Yeah, okay, that makes sense, yeah, so if your client needs it, you will do it, but you're not just taking on, like, those projects
Yep,
individually. Mhm.
exactly.
That makes sense. Okay, cool. Okay, and then coming back to so this is a fear that a lot of people have is like, okay, if I become a website designer, I need to know how to code, and as you've met like, talk to me about yeah, like, how do you see the ROI on that degree that you got? I mean, it does get
Yeah.
you those, like, big database clients and stuff that
Mhm.
are, like, recurring projects,
I
but is
don't
it
I
necessary for people to take
No,
something like that?
not even a little bit. And I am like a lifelong learner. I love school, so I never look back at any
Yeah.
of my degrees and say they were a waste.
Mhm.
But it's not even pertinent to this degree in any way. And in fact, these days, like, there's so many Will Myers has a great, like, learn basics of CSS course
Mhm.
that's super cheap. There's
Yep.
so many amazing little mini courses out there that are
Mhm.
free or close to free that
Yep.
I highly recommend.
Yep.
Because I think there's definitely something to be said about, like, just the basics of, like, learning how to pull block elements
Mhm.
or learning how to inspect a page and be able
Mhm.
to find something. Those are great tools, but you could learn that in a weekend on YouTube.
Yep. Or Will Myers course. Perfect. Love that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know a few students have taken his stuff and really like it, so that's
Yeah,
good recommendation. Okay, perfect. All right. Well, that makes all of us who don't have a computer science degree feel a lot better about ourselves. So thank you.
great.
Glad that you could test it out for us.
Yep, no problem.
Uh, okay, and then coming back to lifestyle aspects. So you have had like you really specifically built the business. You've had to like carry responsibilities. Talk to me about like what's happened in your life since you've started the business and how the business has kind of like worked around those situations.
Yeah, absolutely. So first of all, when I came to this job, it was out of necessity, right?
Mhm.
Because of COVID and
Yep.
all of that. And so right off the bat, it was like, oh, my stepkids are home from school
Mhm.
and not going back to
Yep.
to school
Anytime
for a
soon.
year and a half, and everybody's in the house.
Yep.
So that required a lot of time from me of home
Mhm.
learning. And then my mom got sick and passed away,
So
and
sorry.
my grandmother got sick and passed away all in a 6-month period.
Oof.
Then my sister came to live with me through the pandemic, and so
Mhm.
she was here, and it
Mhm.
was just like family in need, and that all of that stuff crashing down at once. And then my marriage almost blew up. Like, there was just so much,
A lot at once,
life.
yeah.
Um, and it really helped me realign my values and kind of like get to the core that so much of what we see on the web is about trying to make it to be like the top 1%.
Mhm.
And that's not actually my goal. Like, want to I want to be able to make like a magical Christmas for my
Mhm.
kids.
Mhm.
And I want to be able to like I'm so glad that I took that time when I knew it
Mhm.
was the end with my mom and was
Mhm.
able to really spend it with her
Mhm.
and not be sucked into work so much that I couldn't do that. And that continues for me. I have a lot of family needs, and both of my parents are ailing and
Mhm.
aging from illnesses. My mom passed, but my dad has MS and is in end
Mhm.
stage right now. And it's just a huge relief where like I can leave this and on Fridays go have my day with him and
Mhm.
spend time with him. And it's
Mhm.
it's it's been a huge help to just being able to create a life that I feel like I'll look back on and feel like there was the right balance for me. And
Yes.
everybody's balance is different,
Yep.
but this is what I need.
I think that is so good because exactly what you said of like, oh, everyone's on the internet and then they're trying to, they're thinking about like the top 1% of like business owners on the internet and they want to be like that person. And I think that it is so strong of you to have been like, no, this is what I actually want. And I really think that like the people who I honestly have the most respect for is people who go do something very different with like some people like who go like live off the grid or I don't know, whatever, or they're just like,
Yeah.
no, I'm choosing to do this way because it's like it shows that this person has been like considerate enough to think about like what is actually important in their life and then is like strong enough to also push against whatever like media
The norm.
and the
Yeah.
internet telling them that like it's all about building the biggest thing ever and like sharing shiny numbers on Instagram. And so yeah, I just want to say respect for
Oh,
the fact
thank you
that
so
you
much. I
yeah,
appreciate
honestly,
it.
I really think that that's something which so many people could benefit from considering, I guess.
Yeah. Yeah.
Mm.
Well, thank you. I appreciate
Mhm.
it. I think that, and you're not even in America anymore. I guess it's the whole world, but it's all like a hamster wheel. And I
Yeah.
think so much of us wanted a remote job because we're trying to kind of emulate like what we picture retirement life to be like.
Yes.
So I really try and make my life feel more like that now.
Yep.
Where I'm
Yep.
like,
Yeah, that's perfect. You don't need to be 65 to enjoy it. I mean and exactly what you said, like, just making a magical Christmas, like, that is I don't know, that's what actually matters. And again, I think that's something that's so difficult to do is, like, have you ever felt those pulls to go and, like, try to hit some, like, sexy revenue number because, like but then had to remind yourself or I don't know, for anyone else who's kinda, like, thinking, like, "I would like to do what Paige is doing," but I'm kinda like but then they just keep I don't know, the shiny objects are around and, like, the things that you could do and achieve are there and they're in your face. Do you ever have
absolutely, all the time. It's like a constant balancing act, as I assume it is for you. I don't know anyone who's, like, nailed it. Of course, like, I think, often, I'll put a little too much on my plate, and then I'll
Mhm.
feel it, and I'll be like, "Oh, that's not." And I
Yeah.
think I'm just more aware now of how I feel in those moments where I took
Yeah.
on too many clients, and then I
Mhm.
realized that I'm not able to do the other things,
Yep.
and then for me, that helps me, kind of
Yep.
realign my schedule for the upcoming month out.
No, that definitely makes sense. Actually, so that's interesting. Yeah, what you said there was basically like you observe how you are feeling, and that's how I did it when it came to like social media for the business. Was it was like I just observed how I was feeling, and I was like, something's not like
Yeah,
here.
something doesn't feel right.
Yeah, and that's how I also realized that, which is like such a random. I don't know, but just like
Well,
observing your
and
own
so
thoughts and
incredible too,
feelings.
because I think that you were so early to quit
Yeah,
Instagram
yeah.
and also be one of the most wildly successful people. It's like amazing. It's making all of us feel like, yep, we're all set.
Really, I hope that I encourage everyone, like, if you wanna do it, it's absolutely there. Yes, you need a marketing strategy. No, it doesn't need to be Instagram. If you want to be Instagram, absolutely knock yourself out, but, like,
Yeah,
if you don't want it, then that's totally fine. Um,
that's amazing.
okay, amazing. Talk to me about revenue changes in your business over the years. So, obviously, you start off, it goes slower, and you build it up over time, but at the same time, you've also been very conscious of, like, this is the limit of what I am deciding to, like, take on and do in my life. Talk to me about sort of, like, the changes in the financials over time in the business.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I think that the biggest financial changes happened in the first 2 years because it
Mhm.
was such a huge jump from, like, basically going from free
Yep.
to, "Oh, I think I can maybe charge $1,000,"
Yeah.
to, like and there was no real rhyme or reason to what it was. I was so nervous then about setting an hourly rate. Like, back
Mm.
then, even $30 an hour felt high to me to
Mhm.
say.
Mhm.
So, I really started out very, very inexpensive,
Mhm.
and I watched a lot of your content or like, is it time to like up that? And
Mhm.
how do you do the calculator to figure out what you actually need? And
Yep.
that was hard hitting for me. When
Ooh.
I after the first year did the calculator and I was like, oh, at this rate, I'm like losing money after I do taxes. Like, and that really helped me to be like,
Mm.
maybe I will lose out some clients, but it's time. Like,
Yes.
and I need to start
Mhm.
upping it. And so I did that a lot in the first 2 years. Basically, every, like, 3 months, I
Mhm.
would check in and see about a rate increase, and the way that I got comfortable with that for myself was that I set a early client discount where
Mm.
basically those first couple people that got me, I was like, "You can stay at this incredibly cheap rate,
Mhm.
but
Mhm.
for any time anybody new comes across my
Yep.
desk, I'm gonna throw out a new number
Yep.
until somebody turns me away,"
Yes.
basically.
And talk to me about that situation of, like, you throwing out new numbers and waiting for someone to turn you away. Like, how long did it actually take for that to happen? Or if someone said no, did you then just, like, continue at that rate until someone said yes to it? Or walk me through that.
Yeah, well, it was interesting because I think there is something to be said too for the people that you find that are looking for those really cheap sites. I think their expectation level is different, and those people will say no, but ultimately those aren't the clients that you need.
Yes. Yes.
And
Mhm.
so now, I can charge $100 an hour, and my websites, they vary a lot, but I definitely never do a website for under 3,000,
Mhm.
and it varies. I think the highest site I've probably done is maybe $7,000,
Good.
but somewhere in that range. And I'd
Mhm.
say I'm usually pretty comfortable around like 3,500, 4,000, which is not even at the high end of things. But I
Mhm.
do feel like I've leveled up to a new client base
Mm.
that if they're looking to really redesign their site or their business, that they have that budget.
Yep.
And I'm no longer working with people that are just like have an idea and have done none of their own work on their business
Yes.
yet.
Yes. Mhm. You're working with, like, more serious business
They
owners or people
actually
who
have
are actually
content
going to
ready,
do the thing.
whereas the $200 people didn't have any content. They
Exactly.
also want you to design their business plan and write their content.
Exactly, exactly. Okay, this is something so I was just hosting we host these events every, like, few months,
Mhm.
and I was hosting an event, and I asked people to, like, share a website they designed and their pricing, and I was shocked by a lot of the things I was seeing. I was like, "Oh my gosh, okay, here is our problem." So someone had shared I think it was the same thing, it was like $200 or $300 or something for a website project. And I was like, that could have been literally 10 times the price, like 2 to 3 grand for sure.
Yeah, yeah,
And this was like a very beginner designer. And then I was like, oh, but like people always say like they can't afford my rates even at 2 to 300. I'm like, okay, well, the problem is that like we're just way too low to begin with. But
yeah,
like those people are by far the most budget conscious. Once you literally just like hop over that puddle, like
yeah.
over into the thousands, then that's when people suddenly are like they do. So it's kind of like this weird thing of okay, I say I've raised my rate, I say I've raised my rate until someone says no, but then it's like, oh, but actually maybe you're gonna get a lot of no's in the beginning if your rates are just genuinely way too low that it doesn't
Yeah,
you're not even
that's
getting
a
like
really
serious
good
business
point.
owners. Yep.
Absolutely. That's
Mhm.
a really good point, and exactly right, I think, and especially because early on, I liked the idea of working with entrepreneurs, and I was
Mhm.
like, "Oh, but I wanna help somebody that, like, has a dream and has a business." But
Mhm.
now I help a lot of companies who are a new
Yep.
business, but they're in a very different realm.
Yes. Totally. Exactly. So you're still actually getting to serve and help the people who you want to help, but they also are a lot easier to work with too.
Yeah.
So yeah. Which is perfect. That's what we want. And then talk to me about like these projects that you're doing. How long do you have a set time frame that you do every project in? Does it vary per project? How long does it typically take you to like complete one of these websites?
So I love your concept of the 2-week website,
Mhm.
and I do that anytime I get a new build. That is like my structure
Yes.
is the 2-week
Mhm.
website. However, I have so many repeat clients, and I do
Mhm.
a lot of redesigns too where I get hired out.
Mhm.
And those I tend to be a little bit more organic about.
Mhm.
I'm more structured just in my month of the calendar
Yep.
where it's like, hey, I'm looking at this project. We're gonna get your scope of work. We're gonna
Mhm.
guesstimate it's gonna be roughly this many days, and I'm gonna block those out in the calendar. So it varies a little bit first on like
Mhm.
their hopeful launch date, but also
Mhm.
just on my schedule, which is ever changing.
Yep.
So sometimes a project can go on, 5 weeks.
Yep.
But that would be like the absolute max. I would say normally I wrap projects within a 2-week period.
Yep, that makes sense. And then correct me if I'm wrong. So in the background, you mentioned you have these like more longer term development clients that you have. And so those are kind of always also happening like in the background as sort of a like
Exactly.
reliable
So I
revenue
allot
source.
a day a week for those clients
Okay.
where it's
Mhm.
like I'm always doing that on Mondays
Oh, that's really good.
or sometimes always Mondays and Fridays.
Yep. That makes sense. And that I'm assuming adds a lot of like predictability in terms of like the revenue of your business as well,
It's
just from having those
huge. I
2
I
weeks.
can't recommend that enough if you're scared about becoming a freelancer, having
Mhm.
even just like, "Oh, I know I'm getting $500 a month."
Yeah.
Or, like, what
Yep.
having those small amounts where you can allot, like, I know I'll be able to pay
Mhm.
these bills with that.
Yep.
So now I try and make that, like, my base. Like, I know I can cover all my business expenses just off of these ongoing contractors.
Yep, totally. Talk to me about so that aspect which you mentioned. So you'd been an employee before, you've done a few different jobs, and then you decide kind of a little bit forced because no one was hiring when you graduated, to like go freelance. How have you found the like obviously in a business there's like more fluctuations to what you can make, but there's also like greater potential, I would say too, than like when you're a typical employee. How have you found it to move from like employee income into, like, running your own business income, if that makes sense, in terms of yeah.
Yeah. I mean, overall, 10 out of 10, like, no notes. I will never go back to working for anybody ever again.
That's great.
I love it. I really love being my own boss. I really love designing my schedule and my life and having that control. Obviously, there are the financial up and downs,
Mhm,
especially because my husband also works for himself.
mhm.
So we're both like, we don't have health insurance.
Yep.
We're always like, oh, should we bother paying for that out of pocket? Or like, there's all these other pieces you have to kind of figure out. Or like,
Yep.
it took us a long time to figure out how to like pay into a traditional retirement fund.
Yeah. Mhm,
Um, there's definitely pieces like that that are complicated when
mhm.
you work, for yourself, especially if that's, like, your whole family,
Yep.
does that. But overall, I think that the earning potential I feel more confident now in my ability to go earn this like, whatever salary I would desire
Yep.
doing this than ever, like, going for a company.
Yeah. I feel the same way too, which, like, it is more I don't know. I think this is something that, like, if you're an employee, you think like, "Oh my gosh, freelance, risky."
Mhm.
Which, yes, you are relying on yourself, absolutely, and, like, the changes in the market and everything can affect you. But even still, I'm like, "Okay, well, I'm gonna have a hell of a lot more than 2 weeks notice if this business goes down." Like, I will know months
Yeah,
in advance, basically. Whereas
absolutely.
as an employee, like, you might just get 2 weeks notice. And so
Exactly.
I always felt and then also coming back to, like, you have so much more potential, and you can also choose what the potential is and what you choose to do this year versus next year based off what's happening in your life. So, yeah, if you're strong enough to, like, go against what the internet says and not be like, "Okay, I'm going for the sexiest revenue number," but, like, I'm going for, like, my lifestyle this year, so
Exactly, and you're agile, like, the thing is that when you're tied to a company, you're really kind of hanging on to other people's decision
mhm,
making, but this
yeah,
way, it's a and I actually like, feel comfort in it being all on me because, like, I'm
mhm,
I'm the main person looking out for me, and so
yeah,
I'm gonna
you care.
make choices. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. I will do literally, like, move hell and high water or whatever that saying is,
Yeah, exactly.
come hell or high water, I will do whatever it takes to, like, make sure I
Yeah.
can keep myself. Yeah, but that's fantastic, and yeah, I feel the exact same way. Like, I also really enjoy and that gives me a lot of motivation too, is, like, when I do the thing and you directly see the result in your bank account, like, that is some kind of motivator to
Absolutely, yeah.
yeah. So, coming back to the being your own boss aspect, what if someone's only ever worked a normal job and they're like, "What is it like to be your own boss?" Or like, "What does a day look like for you, Paige?" Like, or a week or whatever you wanna do. Like, describe to me what it's like.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay. I think that this has changed a lot over the years.
Mhm,
When I first started, I was pretty structured and I had to be in order to kind of learn how to
mhm,
be self-motivated, right?
mhm,
So I would get fully dressed and I would
mhm.
go into my office and I would sit at my desktop Mac computer and I
Yeah.
would not leave that seat until like the day was done. And I had to be pretty regimented
Mhm,
just to kind of learn like this is a work day. You're not on
mhm.
vacation, like you have to show up. Now it's complete opposite.
Okay.
But it took me that time to kind of learn how to really design my week, and now I block off my days. I know which clients like, every Sunday, I sit down with my Asana, and I kind of go over the week of, like and of course, like, things are longer booked out than that,
Yep,
but every Sunday, I sit down with my schedule and kind of figure out, like, what I can actually accomplish each day, what other
mhm,
personal items are gonna happen during the
yep,
week and where,
yep.
and have a good sense of, like, what my week looks like, and so I rely on that tool so much to block out my time,
Mhm,
and I never book in more than 2 clients in one day. I
mhm,
often like to only have 1 client at a day or a block of days, but sometimes when I have a lot of, revisions or something or, like, little because I also work on anybody that I've previously ever built a site for, I tend to do admin on, so you
oh,
get
yeah.
those little things. So I'll often have 1 day a week where I'm kind of doing all those
Mhm,
little tasks, and my day is, like, pretty lax now. I get up, I work out, I go for a walk with my neighbor,
mm,
I don't start till I feel like it. Sometimes I'm up and working at 6 a.m., but sometimes I don't start till 10 a.m.
mhm,
I often cut out for, like, after lunch, like, go outside, spend some time in the garden. It's really, organic now,
mhm.
and I work a little bit every day usually.
Yeah.
And that's just kind of how I found that I really like it and I
Mhm.
enjoy.
That's great. I love that. And then tell me about life outside of work. Where do you live and what do you like to do in your free time?
Yeah, sure. I live in Vermont
Mhm.
and I love to garden. I love to bake. I love to sew. All
All the
um,
homemaker fun things, yes.
yep, all those things. I'm just like a huge crafter that's so dorky, but I've recently gotten into candle making. So
Ooh. Oh, that's so much fun. I did that
yeah,
when I was younger. That's
and I
really
love
good.
to travel. I travel a ton.
Yeah, where tell us about where you're going next week.
So I'm going to the Azores next week with my brother and sister on a sibling trip, which will be super fun. And that's what's so great about this business too, is like I can bring my laptop with me.
Mhm,
I'll log a couple of hours in the morning before they even wake up
mhm.
and just have a great time.
Yeah, that's incredible. I love that. Especially because you have the degree, as we've talked about. Did you feel any imposter syndrome when you were, like, getting started with the business or
No, and I think that's where that really helped me. Not
Mhm.
in the actual tools that I'm using, but in the confidence building
Yep,
of like, I actually basically understand like the inner workings of a computer and like
yep,
the fundamentals of how
yes,
websites are,
yep.
functioning. And so that really did help. And I do think that it helped me land those initial jobs just because I was able, even though I didn't have a strong portfolio, I was
Mhm,
able to have a really strong resume.
yep.
Um, so yeah, that was really
Mhm.
what the strength lied in there, but I think you can pull confidence from many places.
That is true. I agree with that. That's a good point. Can you tell me, have any clients ever actually asked you what your degree is or, like, if you have a degree in this or
No, no. They haven't. I think that sometimes it has helped me. I do think that I have quite a lot of jobs in the like collegiate space
Mm,
and
mhm,
nonprofit space. And I think that sometimes those jobs, like I have one of my
mhm.
longstanding clients is UCLA. I've worked
Yep.
for them for years. I
Mhm.
think I probably got that job because they actually looked at my
True.
at my education background.
Okay.
But I would say that that's not the norm, and
Yeah.
nobody cares, and these days you can learn anything online, and you can learn anything in a long weekend if you're
Mhm.
committed.
That's a good point.
Um, I just don't think that it really plays into this. I think if I was starting from the beginning, I think learning design fundamentals is important,
Yes. Mhm,
learning about typography, learning about color theory, those
mhm.
are the kinds of things that I think I actually come up most frequently.
Mm, yeah.
User
Yeah, that's
experience.
yes, I agree. Yeah, when you're going to build a website, it's like, okay, you definitely have to do that on every website. And whether or not you need to code or like, oh, I can just go get a plugin for that or use Squarekicker or whatever is like
Yeah,
that's
having
the
a good
actual
design
recipe.
eye is
Mhm.
important.
I agree with that. I totally agree with that. And you can see it on your website. Your website, as especially as you said, like, oh, I like my clients to feel really like, taken care of and cozy. It's like I go on your website and like I feel it. Absolutely.
Oh, thank
Like
you.
your website never can go get the
Well,
vibe.
I absolutely love your redesign. I love the
Thank
way that
you.
you laid out your blogs. That's so gorgeous.
Thank you. I really appreciate that. I had so much fun redoing that website and I wanted to do it for such a long time. But I was like, I wanted to do it properly because I was like, I don't wanna be one of those people who, like, rebrands every 2 years or something, and so I
Yeah.
literally waited years and years and years, and then I was like, I wanted to figure out the direction of where the business was going first, and that was the thing that
Smart.
was, like, stopping me because I was like, "Okay, I really, like, cringe looking at my own website right now." I was, like, so sick of my blue because 'cause I've
That's
been
the
seeing it for
story of
so long.
every designer's life, I think.
Exactly. And I also knew what, like, a commitment it was and everything, and so anyways, so then I finally, like, figured out, like, okay, this is the direction I wanna take the business in, like, years from now, whereas previous to that, I was, like, just kind of figured out, like, 1 year to the next what I wanted to be doing, but I didn't have some, like,
Yeah.
long-term vision for it. Once I figured out the long-term vision, then I was like, "Sweet." Hired a brand designer and then went and redid the website myself and had such a good time doing it. I'm so happy when I
Awesome.
look at it now. So thank you. That's
That's
very kind of you saying.
amazing. Well, I love it. It's incredible.
Thank you. Okay, final question. If someone is on the fence about taking the course, you've been through it, was it worth it? What's your opinion?
Oh my gosh, absolutely worth it. 100%. I think that it really helped me to like launch it, to do it,
Mhm.
because you actually have actionable steps
Mm,
to begin working for yourself. And there's such a community here. Like, even though we're all far apart,
mm,
just having your YouTube videos and the
mhm.
blog and like seeing what other people are up to, it really makes you feel like it's the closest thing you're going to get to like coworkers
Yep.
in a space of working alone, which is so helpful because, working by yourself can be really isolating.
Mhm.
And I think for me, the biggest thing is being able to check in. Like, I just watched your video on things about your site that might be making you look like an amateur,
Yeah.
which
Mhm.
is still so apropos to me, like this many years into it, because it definitely made me be like, oh, am I doing that? And like,
Mhm.
without talking to another web designer, I don't know any web designers here.
Good point.
It's so great to have somebody to like have those kind of discussions with.
Yeah. Internet discussions. I love that.
Internet, web discussions.
That makes me so happy to hear. Yeah, I really want to. I have a lot of ideas about. We've been very busy in the business lately, and so honestly, we've been hosting a lot of student success stories because we have a lot of them which we need to like finally get out. But also, it's like I'm really excited for right after that. I'm like ready to produce some incredible content. So
That's awesome.
Glad we can continue that little like online discussion, basically. Good. Well, incredible. Paige, I am so thrilled for you, so proud of you, and so grateful to have you as a student. Thank you so much for sharing your story.
You too, girl.
Wasn't that inspiring? Hearing real success stories like this reminds us that building the business of your dreams is absolutely possible, and it starts with finding the right clients. Now, the best client finding method isn't about chasing the latest trend or jumping on every shiny object. It's about truly discovering a client finding strategy that feels natural, works for you, and helps you connect with the clients that you actually want to work with. So, if you want to figure this out for yourself, you can take my quiz, Which Client Finding Method Matches Your Personality Type? And in it, you will uncover the perfect way to land your dream clients without the overwhelm or the endless trial and error. So, click the link below or head to paigebrunton.com/quiz to take the quiz, and then you can start building your web designer dream business today. I can't wait to hear which marketing strategy result that you got.